1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
Imagine it's the evening of July 20th, 1969. Families across the globe are gathered around their television sets, their eyes glued to the grainy black and white images transmitted from space. The world holds its collective breath as Neil Armstrong descends the ladder of the lunar module. The crackling voice comes through. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. But now, picture an alternate reality. Imagine Armstrong never uttered those words because the Apollo 11 mission never succeeded, or worse, never even existed. Instead of the triumphant sight of an American flag planted firmly on the moon's surface, there is silence. No footprints, no first step, no lunar landing to unite a divided world, however briefly. What would our world look like without this defining moment? Think about it. The Cold War was at its peak. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a fierce battle for technological and ideological dominance. The space race wasn't just about science or exploration. It was about proving who was superior. Without the moon landing, what would have been the outcome of this rivalry? Would the Soviets have overtaken the Americans in space, or would both nations have turned their resources toward more destructive pursuits? Now let's step back to understand the stakes of that time. In the 1960s, the space race wasn't merely a competition to reach the heavens. It was a stage for humanity's dreams, fears, and ambitions. Children dreamed of being astronauts. Scientists worked tirelessly, driven by the prospect of achieving the impossible. And ordinary people dared to believe that perhaps we could transcend our earthly limitations. The moon represented so much more than a rock in space. It was a symbol of hope, unity, and the boundless potential of human ingenuity. But what if that hope had been extinguished before it ever truly began? What if we had looked up at the moon and seen not a testament to human achievement, but a reminder of what we failed to accomplish? This alternate history is not just a thought experiment, it's a window into how pivotal moments can ripple through time, shaping not only the immediate future, but the very essence of who we are as a species. Imagine a world where inspiration never struck because the example wasn't set. What would happen to the countless technological advancements sparked by the Apollo program? Would satellite communications, GPS, and even your smartphone exist in the same way? And what about the people? Those brilliant minds who dedicated their lives to the pursuit of space exploration. Without the moon landing, would they have turned their talents elsewhere, perhaps even abandoning the dream of space altogether? Would we still gaze up at the night sky with wonder, or would it have become a forgotten frontier, overshadowed by the struggles of Earth? The story of the moon landing is one of determination, sacrifice, and an unwavering belief in the power of human collaboration. Yet, in this alternate timeline, that story takes a darker turn. Instead of a celebration of human achievement, we're left to ponder the cost of failure, or worse, apathy. So, what if humans had never set foot on the moon? The answer isn't just about the past, it's about the future we continue to build, one small step at a time. Let's begin. On a summer evening in 1969, the world seemed to pause. Radios buzzed, televisions flickered, and millions of hearts raced in unison. Humanity was on the brink of a moment that would forever redefine its place in the cosmos. On July 20th, Neil Armstrong, clad in a bulky white spacesuit, descended the ladder of the lunar module, while his partner, Buzz Aldrin, prepared to follow. With one measured step, Armstrong crossed an invisible threshold between Earth and the moon, a step that wasn't just his, but belonged to all of humanity. The Apollo 11 mission wasn't merely a journey to the moon. It was the culmination of years of relentless effort, innovation, and a determination to achieve what many thought impossible. It symbolized humanity's collective ability to dream and to turn those dreams into reality. Against the backdrop of Cold War tensions, this moment wasn't just about science. It was a declaration, a statement of of what humans were capable of when driven by ambition, competition, and curiosity. But before we celebrate the triumph, let's rewind to understand just how improbable this success was. Think about it. In 1961, when President John F. Kennedy stood before Congress and declared that America would land a man on the moon before the decade was out, it wasn't a bold claim, it was an audacious gamble. At that time, NASA had neither the technology nor the know-how to accomplish such a feat. The rockets they were building had a tendency to explode. Computers were the size of rooms and far less powerful than the smartphone in your pocket. And yet, fueled by a vision, they pressed on. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a battle for supremacy, not just on Earth, but in the vast expanse of space. The Soviets had drawn first blood by launching Sputnik in 1957 and then putting the first man, Yuri Gagarin, into orbit in 1961. America was playing catch-up, and the Apollo program was its chance to reclaim the lead. This was more than a mission. It was a test of national resolve, technological prowess, and the belief that freedom could outpace tyranny. And when Armstrong and Aldrin planted that flag, it wasn't just a victory for America. It was a victory for humanity. For a brief moment, borders, ideologies, and conflicts seemed to fade away as billions of people gazed at the moon, knowing that someone from their species was up there, looking back. But what if this pinnacle of human achievement had never come to pass? What if the Apollo 11 mission had failed, not in some technical detail, but in its very conception? What if the risks, the challenges, and the staggering costs had proven too great, and the dream of walking on the moon had remained just that, a dream? Imagine a world where the Cold War remained a ground war, where the skies were filled not with rockets of exploration, but weapons of destruction. Picture an Earth where the moon was still just a distant orb, untouched by human hands, its mysteries unsolved, its potential untapped. Without the Apollo 11 mission, would we have ever broken free of our earthly confines? This is where our alternate history begins, a timeline where the moon landing wasn't a triumph, but an unfulfilled promise. A timeline where humanity's gaze shifted not to the stars, but to the limits of what it thought it could never achieve. Imagine this. It's 1969, and the world is watching. Televisions flicker in living rooms. Families huddle together, waiting for a moment that promises to unite all of humanity under the banner of achievement. But instead of Neil Armstrong's boot leaving an imprint on the lunar dust, there's static silence. A dream deferred, or worse, abandoned altogether. Now imagine the fallout. The United States, already neck-deep in Cold War tensions, finds itself not as the triumphant leader of the free world, but as a nation struggling to justify its ambition. The Apollo program was expensive, $25 billion in 1960s dollars, the equivalent of over $150 billion today. Without the image of astronauts triumphantly returning from the moon, the critics who questioned the program's value grow louder. They argue that the money could have been spent alleviating poverty, advancing civil rights, or solving the problems of Earth instead of chasing a dream among the stars. The ripple effects are immediate and widespread. NASA, once a beacon of hope and innovation, begins to lose the trust of the American public. Congressional funding dries up. Projects like the Mars rover or the Hubble Space Telescope, cornerstones of space exploration in our timeline, are delayed, scaled back, or canceled entirely. The Space Shuttle program, designed to make space travel more accessible, becomes little more than a pipe dream. Without the momentum of Apollo, the United States falters in its pursuit of the stars. Meanwhile, on the other side of the Iron Curtain, the Soviet Union watches with interest. In our timeline, the success of Apollo 11 spurred a mix of envy and resolve within the USSR, driving them to compete even harder. But in this alternate history, things are different. Without an American victory to respond to, the Soviets begin to reassess their priorities. Perhaps they double down on their own lunar ambitions, pushing for a Soviet moon landing to claim the prestige for themselves. Or perhaps they take a different route entirely, diverting their resources into military dominance and global influence, rather than the costly gamble of space exploration. But this isn't just about geopolitics, it's about the very fabric of human progress. The Apollo program wasn't just a space mission, it was a technological crucible. The computers that guided the astronauts to the moon were rudimentary by today's standards, but they laid the groundwork for the microchip revolution. The materials developed for space travel found applications in everything from firefighting equipment to medical devices. Without the Apollo program, the world loses not just a moon landing, but the cascade of innovation it unleashed. Think about your everyday life, the GPS in your car, the weather forecasts you check on your phone, even the structure of the internet. All of these owe something to the space race. Without Apollo, how many of these advancements would have been delayed? How much slower would humanity's march toward the future have been? Then there's the cultural impact. The moon landing wasn't just a technological triumph. It was a story of perseverance, of overcoming impossible odds, of daring to reach for the unreachable. It inspired art, music, literature, and film. It gave humanity a shared narrative, a moment to look beyond its divisions and see itself as a single species capable of greatness. Without that story, what fills the void? Without Armstrong's iconic words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," what becomes the anthem of human achievement? Perhaps we would have found inspiration elsewhere, or perhaps we would have turned inward, our gaze fixed firmly on Earth rather than the stars. And let's not forget the geopolitical stakes. The Apollo 11 mission wasn't just a victory for science. It was a victory for democracy and free enterprise. It showed the world that a society based on individual freedom and innovation could achieve what no other had. Without that victory, the ideological battle of the Cold War might have taken a very different turn. Would the Soviet Union have felt emboldened, their vision of communism vindicated? Would the Cold War have escalated into something far worse? In this alternate timeline, humanity's relationship with the cosmos changes profoundly. The moon remains untouched, its surface unmarred by human footprints. The stars seem farther away, the night sky a reminder of what we failed to achieve rather than what we dared to conquer. The spirit of exploration dims, and the idea of leaving Earth becomes a distant dream rather than a tangible goal. This is the world we step into, a world shaped by hesitation, by caution, by the absence of one extraordinary moment. And in that world, we are left to ask ourselves, without the courage to take that first step, how would humanity ever learn to leap? The Apollo 11 moon landing wasn't just a victory for the United States. It was a testament to human potential. It showed the world that humanity could reach beyond its earthly boundaries, pushing the limits of science and innovation. But what if that moment had never come? What if the flag never fluttered on the lunar surface? Without that symbol of triumph, the effects would ripple across the globe into politics, technology, and our very perception of possibility. Without Apollo 11, how would the global political landscape have shifted? The moon landing wasn't just about space. It was a Cold War battleground. The United States' success in landing on the moon was a declaration that democracy and capitalism could achieve the unachievable. But in an alternate timeline where the U.S. never made it, would the Soviet Union have seized the narrative? Perhaps they would have escalated their own space ambitions and claimed the moon as a victory for communism, shifting the balance of power on the world stage. This could have altered alliances, with nations rethinking their loyalty to the United States, pushing global relations into unpredictable territory. Beyond geopolitics, the lack of a moon landing would drastically change the course of space exploration. The Apollo program was the catalyst for nearly every major advancement in space technology. NASA's success sparked a technological revolution, fueling developments in materials science, communications, and computing. Without the drive to reach the moon, would these advancements have been made as quickly, or would they have remained underdeveloped for decades? The rise of private space companies like SpaceX and Blue Origin may never have happened at all. leaving space exploration firmly in the hands of government agencies. Would the space industry be a government-dominated realm with innovation slower and more restrained? Consider the technological world we live in today. GPS, satellite communications, and even the very foundations of modern computing owe much to the Apollo missions. Without the urgency of space exploration, would these technologies have developed with the same speed, or would other industries have taken priority, leaving key advancements to lag behind? Without the pressure to innovate for the moon landing, perhaps the internet and mobile technology would have arrived far later, reshaping the digital revolution as we know it. Then there's the cultural impact. The way space exploration has shaped the global imagination. For millions, the moon landing ignited a sense of wonder, inspiring careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. It was a shared achievement, a moment that reminded us all of what humanity could achieve. But without that spark, how would the public view science? Would it remain a revered pursuit, a path to discovery and progress, or would it become a more isolated niche field, far removed from the dreams of everyday people? The absence of the Apollo 11 mission would alter the very narrative of our time. Without that landmark achievement, would children still dream of becoming astronauts? Would young minds still look at the stars and imagine a future among them? Science would lose some of its luster, its ability to inspire and unite. Without the moon landing as a beacon, fewer young dreamers would be motivated to reach for the unknown, and fewer groundbreaking innovations might ever see the light of day. The lack of a lunar triumph would change how nations invest in science and technology. The moon landing, while a symbol of American prowess, also served as a global catalyst for scientific exploration. Without it, would governments continue to pour resources into scientific research, or would they shift their focus to more immediate and earthly concerns? The result could be a world where space exploration remains stagnant and scientific discovery takes a backseat to more pressing issues of the time. In this alternate reality, the stars remain distant and the dream of space exploration fades into the background. The ripple effects of this absence touch everything from technology to geopolitics, leaving humanity with a less ambitious view of what's possible. As we continue to explore this alternate timeline, the question arises: would the failure of the moon landing have hindered our progress in space, or could humanity have found another way to push beyond the Earth's atmosphere? It's a thought that challenges our entire narrative of progress. What if the dream of space exploration was delayed or even lost entirely? Would private companies like SpaceX have risen to the challenge, or would we have never seen the rise of commercial spaceflight? How much further could we have gone without the catalyst of Apollo? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Could we have found another way to explore the cosmos? Or was the moon landing the turning point we needed? Was space exploration destined to stay in the hands of governments, or would it have evolved differently without the United States' dominance in the race to the moon? Please share your insights in the comments below, and let's get the conversation going. Your perspective could help shape the way we look at this monumental moment in history. If you're enjoying this exploration of alternate history and the paths not taken, be sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow and allows us to continue bringing you deep dives into fascinating what-if scenarios like this. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We've got plenty more content exploring the what-ifs of history, from lost civilizations to pivotal moments that shaped our world. Don't forget to click the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Every time we release a new video, you'll be the first to know, ensuring you never miss out on a thrilling alternate history journey. But this is just the beginning. The world of alternate history holds endless possibilities. And next time on Rewrite History, we'll explore a truly monumental shift. What if the Roman Empire had never fallen? How would the world be different if Rome's reign had continued, and how might history have unfolded? This alternate timeline will take us on an exciting journey through the foundations of civilization and into a world where the ancient empire never crumbled. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking scenarios, and don't forget to subscribe. We've got plenty more stories to rewrite, and you won't want to miss them. Thank you for being part of this incredible exploration of history's untold stories.